out there in the internet world, and welcome you to Porch Talk. This is your host, Alan. This is an Untapped and Vinyl. So you know what that means.
Yes, I'm here. I'm right now. I'm actually adding something to my story about what we're doing. You're on my story there, Alan,
Oh, sweet.
at Bunk on the Radio. So I don't know if Porch Talk will get tagged or not. How's it going?
Dude, it's good. We got a plethora.
We got a smorgasbord board.
I figured I'd do us a solid.
Is it smorgasbord or board?
Board.
Board.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I never really thought about it before. Yeah.
Well, dude, I feel like a rocket scientist over here. I got all these devices.
I'm unencumbered.
Things are cooking.
I'm unencumbered.
What do you want to start with?
Well, once you go with the heavy IPAs, you're gonna go. Your palate's gonna be killed. So I say we start with the all day, the session IPA, because it's a one hop IPA from Founders. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't had one in a long time, but good solid beer. Probably the lowest gravity of the bunch we got. I say next we go with the Good People, and then we finish off with the Crowd Control, the double IPA.
We got for all you beer naughts out there, we got our right hand man Monk here to help you be fluent when you go drinking.
Yeah, I mean I don't. Yeah. 4.7, so it's a lower gravity IPA. The all day IPA from Founders is definitely one that you could probably take to the pool or the beach or something with you, so you can drink all day with your buddies who drink the piss beer.
It's about as stout as a piss beer.
It's about what?
It's about as stout as a piss beer. It's 4.7. That's not heavy. Not heavy at all.
Not at all.
Good name. Call it the all day because you can drink them all day.
Exactly. Well, perfect. I didn't even think about that, but that's what it is.
Yeah, when I went looking for beer today, they didn't have what I wanted. I was wanting to get us some snake handlers, but you can't keep them things in stock.
Well, snake handlers only available now from Good People out of Birmingham. It's only available twice a year. Used to. Now it was a big thing when I was living in Tuscaloosa because it only came out once a year, but you could always find it in Tuscaloosa. Over here in Mississippi, we have a tougher time. I tell you, last time I went over to Starkville, they came to Pizza and Pints or whatever, Wartown.
Yeah.
Great pizza too, by the way. But Good People had taken over there the night before, so I went over there and took me a couple glasses of Snake Handler down. So.
You have to, man. Do a little catch up, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been doing very well. Just,
recovering?
Staying low, recovering. Yep.
It just seems like, just a lot of people that we know have been really having some health issues and have passed.
Yes. We'll say a good farewell to my buddy Elliot, one of the original owners of Druid City. One of the founders of Druid City Brewing Company.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the news, man, I was shook.
Well, his brother called me like 4 hours before. I had no idea. Last time I saw Elliot, he was thinner, and I thought, man, he's lost some weight, but heck, there's all kind of reasons we lose weight,
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It was really crazy. He called me the day of, and then 5 hours later, he was gone. I was like, wow. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, say goodbye, nothing. It's been a while since I'd spoken with him.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah. So, yeah, definitely his father, Tom, and his mother, and his brother, Brian, and sister, and just, my heart is with them because they're great people, beautiful people.
Yeah. And shout out to Druid City Brewing. They are officially in the new building.
Yes, they are. Have you been to it yet?
I have. Bo has given me the tour.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
And
I've been to the tour about 8 times.
Yeah. The last time I went, it was practically ready, but I haven't been since they've been in there and operating. But
Yeah.
I cannot wait to go.
Yeah, I went over 2 or 3 weeks ago. Saw the Blips.
Jealous. Finally got the boys a record though.
Yes, I handed them to Taylor and he gave them out on stage. So he was right there. Everybody was like, "Oh, cool!" and put it in by their amp and took off.
And move on.
So yeah.
I was excited to because Will and Taylor both were on that record. But speaking of the Blips, Wes, also Terry Ohms,
Yep.
Cornelius Chapel. If you are unfamiliar with them, Give them a follow on the socials. Keep up with what they have going on because what just happened is the new Terry Ohms and other projects that are kind of left of the dial.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be released under O Elegante, and you'll have like the Cornelius Chapel standard from what you've come to know about
Yeah.
Cornelius still dropping there, and then everything else like Terry Ohms. Not saying that it's a one-off or it's just different.
Sure.
And they're going to do those projects under O Elegante.
Huh. That's kind of cool, kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. So
Yeah.
and maybe that'll give me a foot in the door. Maybe I can get my left of the dial self in there and do some work.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I love how record companies make things uniform. And so when you think of a one-off label or a label, kind of a side project label
Mhm.
for labels, I kind of hope for like that everything's uniform, like the records. Like you think about Peter Gabriel, everything he releases on his Real World all looks the same. When you the Island records, everything looks the same when you look at the spine. At least on the cassette tapes back in the day, you know.
Yeah,
And I love that. I
yeah.
love the uniformity of it all.
I'm so with that because like you know it by sight,
Yeah, yeah,
and like just because of the way it looks, you know who put it out. You know how probably it's going to
the
sound.
quality. Yeah, I mean, it all goes back, and I'm not saying that old Elegante is going to do that, but it all goes back to like those days when we were very loyal to record labels like Wax Trax Records or Sub Pop Records or Megaforce or whoever you were a fan of when you were growing up. When I was growing up, and that was a big thing. You felt like Island Records, if they put it out, knew it was quality shit. I was going to get me whatever it was, because it was going to. Trojan Records was another one of those brand loyal kind of things.
Yeah, I mean absolutely, and just to plug Cornelius once again, man, it's a lot of good people signed and working with that label. You have Janet Simpson, Will Stewart. They come together. They make Timber. Sarah Lee Langford works with them.
Mm-hmm.
The Blips. They got a lot of projects.
Yeah, they got Brian and his band. At least they put out the one record.
Mm-hmm.
What is their name?
Dirty Clergy.
Dirty Clergy. There we go. Sorry, Brian.
And by the way, working on new music.
Yeah.
And it's good.
With Kai.
Kai is playing
Good.
bass.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And
Yeah, because I've seen he's been doing his thing, so I didn't know
they're
if he
finally
had.
playing live. So
Okay.
Kai and the Heretics, their first live show ever. I was a Heretic for that. Was last year's Porch Fest.
Yeah.
And now Kai has put together an entire band, and like their first live show was at the Nick in Birmingham. What a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of history there too.
Yeah.
The same stage that the Red Hot Chili Peppers played on at one point,
Mm-hmm.
And that's always cool. I remember going into the Nick and just like looking up and staring at the ceiling, It's like there was a lull in conversation, or you're waiting for a band to go on, just look at the ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
kind of pass the time away. I don't know if they still have that on the ceiling there.
Been a while.
Yeah.
I haven't been.
Because I know when I was first started going there, they were putting the flyers on the outside of the wall. And now the city of Birmingham said, no, you can't do that. So it's all covered in staples. So I think there was like a news report from the Black and White or something years ago that said the house that Staples built. So that was kind of cool.
Very iconic place.
Yeah.
There's gonna be.
Definitely a dive bar.
Yeah, it's got that feel. Friend of the show now. Most recent interview I've done was with Josh Williams. He has a band. He's singer-songwriter, kind of folky.
Yeah.
Fire Camino.
Oh yes.
So
yes.
they had his album release party this past weekend. He booked Taylor Hollingsworth to be
Yeah.
on that bill. Reached out to me through Instagram to see if I would be available to come. It's like, dude, I'd love to be there. And I was already supposed to be in Birmingham anyway, so
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll be there. And he's like, cool. I'll let you play a song or two. And
So you lucked out and getting to hang out with Taylor too.
Taylor played with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you that track. Like
Yeah.
I need to get it mixed because what Josh did that night was he taped a field recorder to the ceiling of the venue.
Yeah.
Recorded
Oh,
like
wow.
that, which I'm very interesting.
That's
And
cool, yeah.
It came out pretty good.
Huh.
That's exactly what you wanted for if you wanted to do a live recording.
Yeah.
and played Georgia, which is on the Porch Talk record, and it was just good to have Taylor Hollingsworth playing on that thing because that is one thing when I think about like guitar players. Right when you hear a guitar lick, you know who it is. They have an iconic approach to
Yeah.
their instrument, and uh, I you can close your eyes and just put Taylor on, and I'll be like 10 seconds in, I know who it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like nobody else plays that way.
Yeah. And then there are certain people that can sit in with anybody, and Taylor's definitely one of those people, like John Calvin Abney.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, and I mean, think Tom Morello has a specific sound.
Oh, most definitely.
Uh, Steve Vai, SRV.
Angus Young.
Yeah, I mean everybody,
Yeah.
and like you can even break it down to like what kind of guitar they use.
Yeah.
And shout out to Southside Customs, customizes guitars there in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Had him on the show. He was actually working on a project for Taylor while I was there, so I got to see the guts of a guitar that maybe Taylor was playing it that night. I don't remember, but it was near done.
Wow, cool.
So I wanted to have him on. He's made guitars for Early James, a lot of guitar players from that area.
Yeah.
Lead guitar player for St. Paul and Broken Bones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're doing great. Red Clay Strays are doing great. Real proud of the state of Alabama and what they're doing with music. From Muscle Shows, Birmingham and Mobile, Alabama.
Man, they've
And
been.
they got it cooking.
Yeah, and Abe Partridge down there. He's got things cooking too.
That dude is playing a show, it seems like every day.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I'm going on tour, just going to casually go to Virginia and
Yeah.
Kentucky for the night. We'll be back tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
It's like he teleports or something.
Yeah.
He just has no problem with it.
So, man, today it's been a while since we've just picked apart a specific genre, and this was a genre that I wasn't exactly familiar with.
Yeah.
We got together, you shared some documentaries and people to listen to how it all started, and what I know about this genre. Rockabilly
Rockabilly.
is you gotta have a pompadour,
Yeah.
turquoise and black dress shirt.
Yeah, not necessarily, but yeah. I mean, it could be a dirty T-shirt.
And it's big. You can play an acoustic guitar.
Mhm.
A stand-up bass is required. Drums not necessary, but
Nope.
encouraged.
Yep.
And
What was it? There was one guy kind of explaining rockabilly, and he was something religious connotation he was using toward it, the Orthodox version of
Yeah.
rockabilly. I mean, because it starts with the acoustic guitar and with the bass. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really all you need. A singer. You think about looking back even to when Johnny Cash recorded at Sun Studios. He didn't have a drummer, so he had a guitar player, he had a bass player, and it was him. And he took his acoustic guitar and he wove a dollar bill in the strings and went. And that was the drums, you know.
and that's kind of like where and specifically stand-up bass, like
Yeah.
a good stand-up bass player can emulate that perfectly while doing those
Oh,
bass
most
notes.
definitely.
I think about this, with dark water tattoos.
Oh yeah.
Very good at that
Yes.
style of play.
Yes, he and I talked a lot about rockabilly while he was doing my work on my arms. We talked a lot about psychobilly, punkabilly,
Yeah.
because there's so many different subgenres.
Yeah.
I don't know, was it Eurobilly? I heard about and last night I was watching this documentary and it said Eurobilly. I'd never heard of Eurobilly
Yeah.
ever in my life.
Brand
you
new
know.
term.
There's Texas swing too, which is a phenomenal genre. If you're into the rockabilly, I mean, pretty much it's a very Western rockabilly sound with like Wayne the Train Hancock. One of my favorites. I've been a fan of his for years. I learned about him through Hank III. So check that guy out if you get a chance. Wayne the Train Hancock.
What a name.
Yeah, I love it, man.
And,
A little tiny fella.
And this genre is full of great names for people. And also, like one thing I didn't realize,
Yeah.
which I mean, with the pompadour kind of makes sense, but I didn't realize how much Elvis Presley like inspired and kind of brought this on.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard it said like through some of the documentaries that I was watching and getting familiar with this genre was, they were all saying, I wish he would have been alive to see what he inspired.
Yeah, yeah.
An entire genre.
Yeah, because the original three-piece Elvis band was a rockabilly band. To look back at the roots, I mean, a lot of the roots.
Was it even called that at that time, though?
No, I mean that like somebody called it, said it was the pop country of the moment, of the time, and I think it's just basically this hillbilly pop music for the '50s. I mean that's exactly what it was because that's who was making the music.
Mm-hmm.
With Johnny Cash starting up, it was also too. I mean, you didn't have for one. I mean, what's the one? I don't know if this is. I mean, I know it's true today, but I don't know if it was. What's the toughest person to find? Toughest band member to find?
The bass player.
A drummer.
Well, yeah.
It's a drummer.
A drummer, yeah.
So, I mean, with Rockabilly, the way it's originally done, you don't have to worry about having a drummer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just back to what the guy was saying about like an orthodox Rockabilly.
Yeah.
Not necessary, not even required.
No, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, vocals, and stand-up bass. Stand-up bass is kind of like, that's the backbone of a Rockabilly band, I think.
And I don't remember the name of the bass player, but he's very iconic. Like when it comes to Rockabilly, he would definitely have a star. But his point was that he was a guy who innovated on bringing the bass player to the front of the stage.
Yeah.
He said because in that time the bass players would be in the back, where there would be a
Sure.
drum.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got some bass players that just kind of stand out. Jeff Fireball is one that I've followed for years. I've seen his old band, Hillbilly Casino, many times. He was also in BR 549. Jeff Fireball was definitely one of those stand up front, like you came to see Jeff Fireball. When you go to see Reverend Horton Heat, Jimbo is one of the reasons you come. Because Jimbo's going to rock the shit out of that bass,
Mm-hmm.
with the double tapping, double slapping, Yeah.
And let's move into it. So inspired by Elvis and not only did it took the United States by storm, but like there was this when these Europeans came over, like specifically from like the UK.
Yeah.
The way they were dressed like punks. But they were there for the Rockabilly, and even like Rockabilly in the scene, especially in LA, you dressed a certain way, and it just so happened that you were also really into cars, and it shifted to being taken over by the Latin American community.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, like when I think about who's the guys, Lost Lonely Boys, who sung How Far Is Heaven,
Yeah.
and that is kind of inspired by Rockabilly. And it's crazy, like how these things just spider web out.
Yeah, I don't know if I watched the documentary you did. Most of my knowledge is just inherent, just like I've just picked it up over the years being a fan.
Yeah.
But definitely there was that influence. I mean, just like blues music, and you think about, I've always kind of likened Rockabilly with blues. The old Delta blues, kind of, they did what they had to do to make music, to make that sound that they wanted.
That's funny.
And I mean, it was the same in Europe. I mean, they went crazy for Muddy Waters and all those people over in Europe.
They were going crazy for those Rockabilly, and that was one thing that they were saying. Like, Rockabilly here wouldn't sell any records, but the one advantage, and this is kind of, times have definitely changed. Like now it's all about Spotify and working an algorithm online to get played and get heard. But at that time, when disc jockeys at clubs and on radio stations, they were playing Rockabilly all the time. And so Rockabilly was huge in Europe, and everybody around here, it was kind of like there were Rockabilly clubs in specific towns. But over there, it was like Muddy Waters and the blues, It was on fire over there. When here was, people was like, pop music.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that there's been anything from Europe that America's really gravitated toward, but definitely the Rockabilly and the blues music are really American music, I guess, to the world. I don't know why. I guess because they're so vast and so big. But you think about some of those 80s hair bands. Those hair metal bands and those metal bands, huge in Japan.
Oh, they love them.
Oh,
they love them.
I mean, all of them will tell you. I mean, that was the best place to tour. Kiss, best place to tour was when we go play shows in Japan.
And it's so funny, like with their culture, like we operate off honor here. They work off like shame. And so, like, let's take the Rolling Stones with Keith Richards. He was banned from Japan because at that time with the Rolling Stones, he was like the face of drug and alcohol.
Yeah.
And so it's like
Wow.
Rolling Stones could not come in and play because of Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Now years later they were allowed in, and all the Japanese reporters, they didn't want to talk to Jagger. Mick, what's it like being back in Japan? It's all right. That's all. That's all I'm saying. You know, he wanted to be like real. I don't want to say too much. I come here. I'm smoking a cigarette while I'm doing this interview.
Yeah.
We're about to play a show, and I'm not going to get myself in trouble again because it is good to be back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like Rockabilly, it was really cool. There was one part of the documentary where they went to a festival in it was Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Denmark, or was it okay? And they went to this Rockabilly festival, just so unique to see all these kids. I mean, dressed up like they were in Grease, the movie.
Yeah,
you know,
all of them.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, yeah, greased
Pompadours,
up,
the girls with
had
the little
look.
skirts on, everything. It's really kind of
Oh,
neat.
bring it back, baby. I'm for that time right there.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like
Something
how,
sexy about that time,
Oh,
I guess, because
it
it's
really
just not really a thing we've ever been a part of.
yeah.
But I mean, to think about this
Just
music,
watching the Funds, I wouldn't want to be the Funds, but I would definitely want. I want to be his buddy. Yeah.
yeah,
Be a
yeah,
side row.
and to really know Henry Winkler's story, like he didn't even know how to ride a motorcycle.
Looking cool on one.
Yeah, he never drove one on the show. That's funny. So, but yeah, there's something, I don't know, I guess me growing up, and I mean, thinking about looking at I was actually on my Instagram feed right now in my stories, there's a video of Lightning Hopkins, and he's dressed up, he's got his pant legs rolled up, looks like he's a rockabilly dude, you know, so blues music and rockabilly, I guess growing up, seeing these guys and knowing their music and knowing about their personalities and reading stories, I've always been intrigued and excited. I've never been able to pull off the rockabilly look just because I'm just not a dude that can do it, although I want to. I mean, I'm bald, you know, so
Yeah.
I can't do a pompadour.
Pompadour's out.
Yeah, I can't do a flat top, you know, because it's just not enough on top.
Yeah, that's, I mean, shout out to the Red Clay Strays. Like, I saw some pictures, because he kind of rocks a flat top / kind of a pompadour.
Yeah.
And when I was going through this documentary, he came straight to mind. Like, he does have kind of like the Elvis Presley look, or even like a lot of these, and no negative connotation on this, but kind of a greaser look.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, greasers, it's not a bad thing necessarily.
But it seems like it kind of like with the culture, and this is one thing about rockabilly, like it influenced, like it was a huge subculture in America, and then it was taking Europe by storm.
Yeah.
And like that, it was so funny, like the way that the girls would describe their men. It's like, yeah, his hair's greased up in the pompadour, and he has his pillow, and I have mine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think that's part of it. It's a look, almost like the hair metal of the '80s. You know, to think about the two people that I think epitomize what I think of when I think of rockabilly is the Reverend Horton Heat and Jimbo. They both look the part. They've always had some, whether it's Taz or whoever's behind the drum kit, you know, never looked the part, you know, long. It looked like you, Taz did, you know. But yeah, it's when I think about it, I think about Jimbo because he's like the greaser. He's the guy you could see. He's got cigarettes rolled up in his sleeve, you know, working on cars, kind of thing, you know.
Yeah,
back in the
that's
50s.
a big part of it.
Yeah.
Also, like let's start from the blues, and so the blues highly influence like most music that we listen to today, whether it be rock and roll to Led Zeppelin or the Stones or to rockabilly.
Yep.
And then we could keep spiderwebbing that out.
Oh, yeah.
What was funny about these rockabilly guys was one of them was sharing a story about like sharing a show with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And they were talking with Robert Plant, and he was like, "No, I really like rockabilly. I consider it to be very rock and roll." And it's like, "Yeah, we don't really consider what y'all do to be rock and roll at all." Like they were not fans of like what they were doing. It was like electric guitars, and that was kind of like, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the electric guitar like kind of was the death of like a purist or the orthodox rockabilly.
Sure, I guess it could be. I mean, but to think about it now, I mean, it's along with the bass, it's the backbone.
Yeah.
You know, because you got I don't know. I guess when it kind of had a resurgence. I don't know at what point it had a resurgence, but I think that was kind of spearheaded by the Stray Cats, because the Stray Cats are the first band in modern times. I mean, you had Elvis and Johnny Cash and oh my God, Carl Perkins, and people like that, kind of bringing it around in the 50s and 60s, and it kind of had a lull. And then the Stray Cats came out in the 80s. It was like, holy shit.
And they blew it up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about
And
like,
took it to the mainstream.
that's the thing about rockabilly, whether it's like Folsom Prison Blues or like things that are very rockabilly, whether or not you think about it that way, like it's gonna make you want to move your feet. Or it's gonna make you want to drive a little bit faster. Like rockabilly, it really does work the soul, man.
Yeah, it's got that chugga chugga chugga
Yeah.
chugga chugga chugga
Which
chugga
one
beat
will we
to
go
it.
next?
Let's go Good People IPA there.
Whoa.
Oh, hey.
Get a little violent with the mics.
There we go.
Sometimes I just want to hit you.
I've been lucky over the years to have known about rockabilly, been a fan of rockabilly, and have been able to see some great shows. Wayne the Train Hancock was a great show I saw in Birmingham one time. What's that?
I don't know if I've been to like just a sure enough just rockabilly. Like I've seen shows to where it was inspired by rockabilly, but I wouldn't call it a rockabilly show. Like maybe the band, they had some rockabilly-esque kind of songs, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like true blue rockabilly.
Yeah.
And I would love to.
I get you,
I
yeah.
would love to like go to one of these
I
shows.
tell you, if you ever get the chance to see the Reverend Horton Heat, do.
So where's he based out of? Do you know?
I don't
Off the top of your head?
California now, maybe.
That scene where the scene really.
I
like,
think they're a Texas band originally. I think so,
Yeah.
but I'm not positive on that.
But that's the story of it. It seemed like, you took rockabilly, so you took hillbilly, there's your Billy,
Yep.
and then rock and roll,
Yep.
put together rockabilly. But it was like hillbilly music plus rock.
Yep.
And the easiest way to explain it, but like it kind of started in Texas, and a lot of people would pay reverence to Mississippi because of Elvis Presley. But it did migrate to specifically Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you had the branch off, I guess, after the Stray Cats kind of turned things around, and you had other bands coming in around that time. Then it kind of branched off into like psychobilly and punkabilly,
And then
which
Eurobilly.
Eurobilly, whatever I still don't even know what the hell that is.
I'm trying
Because
to-
the bands they were playing
like,
on
is
this
it just-
documentary,
It's more of like a location than it is like a style.
yeah, it was like that's really not. I mean, any different than what I just heard when you had regular rockabilly. But you had like what I think is cool. Psychobilly's kind of okay, kind of cool. But punkabilly, because I grew up a punk rocker. We've had a punk episode that we both still talk about.
Yeah. Big influence on why we're doing this.
Yeah,
now. It's like
so when-
punk is really kind of my scene. It's like
Yeah.
even to the way that I still dress today. It's
Yeah.
punk.
Yeah, and then punkabilly comes out, so you're rockabilly and punk together, which is fantastic. And then you get psychobilly, which psychobilly is like, it's like the Misfits meets rockabilly. So it's a little like the horror genre comes into play on psychobilly. And some of those bands like Demented to Go and people like that really cool, but I don't know, I'd take the Reverend Horton Heat all day.
Yeah, and I can't. We're talking about just like music purists, and I believe like a purist in any sense just ruins it for everyone else. But was talking about metal this weekend,
Yeah.
and they stopped liking Metallica. It was anything before the Black Album.
Yeah.
And then like they would be into the Misfits, even though it wasn't technically metal, but it had that kind of horror.
Yeah.
And then like when you think about like metal genre, I mean you got black metal, dark metal, and all kind of metal. And like they wouldn't listen to NoFX, which is pretty good music.
Yeah.
And like they were very peculiar about who they listened to because that would influence like to the group like you're not a purist.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let me go back and total jump off side note on that. One of the best quotes ever comes from Jason Newsted, former bass player for Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
When the Black Album came out, everybody labeled it as sellouts. He goes, "Yeah, we're sellouts. We sell at every venue every night. That was one of the best quotes about music ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because props to them, and they just put out a killer record,
Yeah.
still making music to this day. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I get off on
Yeah.
a tangent
No,
there.
no,
when
that's perfect.
you mentioned that. I'm a huge Metallica fan.
Yeah. I
But
like
there is a
Metallica
point
too.
where I'm kind of like, there's about 3 albums in there, or 4 albums, that I'm like, I don't really care.
Mhm.
But everything before that, everything after that,
Yeah.
everything Robert Trujillo on is.
It's kind of like Red Hot Chili Peppers for me. Is like anything with John Frusciante.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of. Now those records without him, I'll listen to.
Sure. Yeah.
I,
Their worst album is the one that Dave Navarro was on. I'll say that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna name that album.
Josh Klinghoffer, he was a great guitar player. Rick Marshall. I mean, I'm a Chili Peppers fan. There was 2 bands in history that I've been a part of their fan club, and that's a band called Fetchin' Bones out of Charlotte, North Carolina, which they're no longer, and then the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I actually saw those 2 together in Birmingham before.
Shout out to Brother Cobb. Like, and I like it when people do this. And I don't know if they're trolling or if they're like. I do like a good book on top of the toilet,
Yeah.
and on top of that toilet, he has scar tissue.
Oh,
Which,
cool.
Ketis, like that actually is a pretty good book.
Yeah. Oh, I've got it.
You know,
I've
it's
got it.
autobiography.
The opening story is one of the best stories. Like, it'll keep you once you get there. The
Yeah.
very first story he tells about going on a drug deal, and man, it's like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still have Dave Grohl's book I got 2 years ago for Christmas, year and a half ago. Yeah, I still have not read most of it. I need to. I heard that's an equally good biography, but we're way off of Rockabilly.
Way
now.
off Rockabilly.
Yeah, but of course the beer's flowing. We're into the Good People IPA now, which in my opinion is one of the best single IPAs. I would put Good People IPA, Trim Tab IPA up against the Moonlighter and Lamplighter from and which is my favorite
Drew
IPA.
City, yeah.
Yes. But yeah, the Good People and Trim Tabs IPA.
Yeah, you
Good
gotta
solid
love the logo. It's like give me that natural light look.
ones.
But it's real
It's,
clear
it's
what
simple.
it is, you know?
Yeah, it's changed a few times over the years, but is what it is. What's the alcohol? It's like 6% or
Let's
something.
find it.
6 something. You have better eyesight than I have. I don't have my old man readers on.
I wonder. We ran into this with some because it's distributed to Mississippi. I don't think they're allowed to put how potent it is for whatever reason. It tells you what temperature to drink it at.
No, that's not the case because there are tons that are distributed in Mississippi that have it on there.
But I do not see it on.
Yeah, whatever. It's a solid freaking. If you ever get a chance to, it's good to see Good People where they are right now, as far as a because they've built that place up to a damn. It's like a luxurious Taj Mahal of beer places. It's really cool.
Yeah.
What they've done out there,
I mean,
right across from Regents Park.
and thank God, like most of our restaurants here in town now. I know Zachary's, even Monson's, I think Huck's, like Princess. Most places around here are beginning to carry Good People. So
Yeah.
like, shout out to these restaurants
Well,
for
I can
having good taste.
Yeah, I can get that to Chevron too. Well, shout out to the beer distributors for having somebody
Yeah.
in there that knows something about craft beer and is like, hey, let's give the people what they want. Because the state of Mississippi is definitely not. The ABV is still very low. I mean, they don't have an influx of craft beer. Like, it's not easy for a company to get their beer into Mississippi. That's why there's still so much. You can go to Alabama.
There's a lot of red tape, man.
Yeah, you can go to Alabama right now and get 500 different breweries beer and that you cannot get here in the state of Mississippi, and it's crazy. I think
It really is.
Well, once you get rid of the old rich money, I think you'll be okay. I mean, the state will probably open up, but until we can do that, then
Yeah. I wonder if I'll still be around when that happens.
yeah, we're gonna be because it was funny growing up, being in Mississippi and then moving to Alabama and living there for so long. It was always something because Mississippi and Alabama were the last in everything, and now Alabama beer wise,
really good on beer.
Beer wise, they have some things that they did create Jeff Sessions, you know. So I mean, there are certain things about Alabama beer. Definitely, they're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
Mississippi is the old
I'm
white guy state.
Trying to remember the previous.
No, that's wrong. I don't
before K. Ivy. Robert, was it Robert?
Yeah, he was a chiropractor or something.
Whatever, you know. But like because of him, like the governor of Alabama no longer has the power to exonerate or pardon anyone because it was Sessions.
Yeah.
It was Sessions.
Yeah.
Because they thought that he was going to pardon himself on his way out, to where they just stripped that power away completely. Which I think, like, there was a story. I don't want to get back to Rockabilly, but there was this story that happened out of Huntsville, to where cops were called out to this location, and the cop that answered the call didn't go procedural with how it was supposed to be. Like, entered the home. And the person, they were called because it was a domestic case. He was crazy, threatening them with a gun. And you're not supposed to step foot in that property. Like, everything needs to be coming on the outside. Not that you don't need to put yourself in danger by going inside. But for whatever reason, that person decided to go inside. Now, another cop showed up who had field experience, showed up, saw that everything was awry, had to go inside, and the civilian lost his life that day, and now that cop is on death row.
That's not the
practically.
Sounds a lot like the Breonna Taylor case.
Very close to that situation.
Okay.
Very close to that
situation. I was just making sure.
But like, and that cop's wife is also a cop, and like I was listening to the story because it struck me. I was like, what an interesting case.
Yeah.
And like he needs to be pardoned, and they was like, well, the thing about it, the governor of Alabama can no longer pardon because of Sessions. And like case laid out, but they cannot get a court to hear it.
Mm.
And I think eventually it's going to go to the Supreme Court. But anyway, let's get back to Rockabilly.
Yeah. Okay, I had to make sure too.
And I butchered that story.
For some reason, whenever I said Breonna Taylor, I thought, wait a minute, is Taylor her last name? Please tell me that I didn't just say that wrong, but it is.
It is, yeah.
So back to Rockabilly, we were breaking down the subgenres.
Yeah, psycho.
Subgenres.
Look at you, getting us all sloshed up over here, good people.
Yeah, and then we were talking about, and we had talked earlier about the Texas swing. Really, it's like I heard somebody, I think it was B.J. Barham from American Aquarium. Maybe not. I don't know. But they were talking about the Americana umbrella, you know, and then how vast it is, and does it really need to be a thing? What is Americana? I mean, Rockabilly, it's a sound, so you can put a name on it if you want to. You can put genres and all this other shit, but it's all got the same backbone. It's all got the same basis, the same bassist. You know what I mean? It's all got the stand-up bass. See what I did there?
And that's the most important part.
Yeah,
that's the key to the formula.
Yeah. So I mean, for anybody just kind of getting into it, going into it, I mean, just search for Rockabilly on Spotify or you can do it on your Amazon music things, and just tell it to play Rockabilly and just give it a listen and see what comes up first, you know. I did it the other day. I just said, hey, you know, play Rockabilly. And you what?
I did it today.
Yeah, some randomness came up, and then the Hillbilly Hellcats came up, which I love. And those guys, it was a song called Hillbilly Hellcat.
Everything that I know about Rockabilly is like directly because of you and Diz.
Yeah.
Like and like the Psychobilly stuff.
He totally knows all that better than me.
He is all in there. Like,
yeah.
When we hang out, that's what we listen to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for sharing, man. I didn't even know like this was a thing, you know. Thank you so much.
Yep.
But like Rockabilly, especially, most everything I know is like directly because of you, and like just the songs that you've shared, or like bands. But like, look this up when you get home, dude.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. It's just been, I don't know. There's something just kind of very organic and original about Rockabilly. Mm-hmm. It's not. There's no overproduction. You know,
That's another thing that I like about it.
Yeah.
It's very one shot, just like this.
Yeah.
We got the mic set up.
let's do it. It's just like the
Run
blues, you know. And then there's 100 other genres, I'm sure, that you can say do the same thing. But I think rockabilly has always remained at its roots what it started out as being. And I like the fact that there is, for the most part, I like the fact that there is a look. It kind of goes back to the way we were talking earlier about record labels and how all the spines used to be the same on Island Records. I mean, that's the same thing. I like that uniformity of, you can tell when looking at these guys with a stand-up bass and the sleeves rolled up on their straight button-up shirts. It's like, yes.
It would go so far to where the way that the girls would dress when they went to the mall, you could tell that they were into rockabilly.
Yeah.
Or even the way, like, these guys are working on cars and the way that they were wearing their shirts, they're going to be at a rockabilly bar that night. You know, it was such a huge subculture, and like, man, I would love to live in a place to where, like, like you said, I probably couldn't pull the hairstyle off.
Yeah.
I could probably get close and dress the part.
Yeah.
I'd have to do something with the hair though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would probably be better if, like, maybe the mechanic coveralls, the one piece, zip straight up the front. That'd probably be more me. With some patent leather shoes.
And it's crazy too, like into the car scene, and this goes back to the Latin aspect of it that was picked up later in LA, was like, they weren't into like your Honda or Toyota, like they were very into
the Impalas in the 50s.
And Ford and
yeah.
like all that, like they were very into like keeping them pristine, keeping them worked up, and like everything about that culture was like, it was so precise.
Like. I mean, you've hit on something. I mean, because it directly influenced, I would say, in a sense, the lowrider culture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When that all became a thing, I think that was what, 80s, 90s, when it really became a big thing.
My friends.
That's War. Remember that band? Yeah.
Shout out to Dazed and Confused.
And everybody will see you're younger than me. I remember the Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke. That's where the lowrider comes in for me, because they're riding around a lowrider and like, hey man, that's Led Zeppelin, ooh wee.
That's about spot on. This is Labrador, dude.
Yeah.
You mean Labrador?
Yeah, my old man, you followed him around with a baggie for 3 days and they finally shit it out. Oh my gosh, yeah. But Dazed and Confused, whatever. However you got to the lowrider culture. I mean, it was big here in Mississippi in the 80s when I was growing up in the 90s. Lowrider trucks, it was never
growing up in rural Alabama.
Yeah,
never a thing.
Never a thing. Yeah.
Like we had a few guys that were in kind of like those racer cars. But for the most part, everybody was into a jacked up truck with the shotgun hanging off the back glass. Okay. And that's what it was.
Yeah. I mean, my crew, we were just into whatever drove, because we just needed to get us places. We didn't care.
Same thing. It was like, you got a car, let's go.
Yeah. Could we cover it in skate stickers? That was our thing, because I had my first was a Datsun 210 hatchback, not the bumblebee wheels with the honeycomb or whatever wheels. But yeah, I mean, the whole back glass was nothing but skate. I had like one spot where I could see out of it. I guess it got pulled over. But lowrider trucks were a big thing here. But rockabilly definitely influenced. And I mean, you can see a lot of times, a lot of those people who are representing those cars and making those cars jump and bounce, they got their sleeves rolled up on their T-shirts. They got their pants rolled up at the bottom. So.
Mm-hmm. And it became like
and the Pompadours.
And it became something generational. Like as that documentary, it was specifically about rockabilly in LA.
Yeah. And
it became a generational thing to where, well, I do it because my dad did it, and the legacy will continue. And it's crazy because like I don't, with the exception of the blues, I don't know another subculture that was inspired by music to where it had that kind of like cultural phenomenon to where like, I dress this way, I look this way, I'm a mechanic, and this is the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I guess you could say punk was a lot like that, but punk is not as acceptable.
Well, that was the point of punk.
Sure, exactly.
Counterculture.
Exactly. Counterculture. I forget about that description, that word, counterculture.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. I think if I could go back in time and be a musician, I would either be as badass as Lightning Hopkins, or I would be as badass as Jimbo from Reverend Horton Heat and play that stand-up bass, or Jeff Fireball.
But shout out to Jimbo, dude. He is like really the front man. Like with those documentaries, like right when I saw him, I was like, that is the man.
Yeah.
Like he was living and breathing the part.
Yeah, and I mean, if you ever look at the Jim Heath is the Reverend Horton Heat. If you ever look at Jim, I mean, he embodies it. Even when he's not, I mean, that's just the way he dresses every day. He didn't go out and go, oh, I need to look for something a little more rockabilly. He goes, oh no, that's my style right there. I'm getting that. You know, he puts it on. You don't think about it. It's just who they are. They even look pale, like we're looking at a '50s teen magazine. You know?
I mean, when they were interviewing these people who were a part of this culture in LA, I mean, like that is what they live for.
Yeah.
It was that LA nightlife to be at that Rockabilly club.
Yeah.
And it was like, we're in the dancing, we're in the music, and we're into the booze.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of those things. It's
Yeah.
all inclusive.
Some liquor, beer, and wine,
That's it.
to quote the Reverend Horton. Oh.
Yeah. And so, like, I did want to like pull up just and do a little roll call. Like,
Well, let me do a shout out to one of the coolest names in rockabilly history,
mm-hmm.
and that would be, I can't remember his first name now. Smokey? That wasn't it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, we were just actually talking about this.
Yeah, before we got running, you want me to name?
Go ahead.
Name
Yeah.
some off. All right, so like I think about Jerry Lee Lewis, Eddie Cochran, Alice Leslie, Johnny Cash, Janice Martin, Billy Poor, Sparky Moore, Marlon Grissom, Robert Gordon, Johnny Dollar, and even Buddy Guy.
Yeah, Johnny Dollar. I don't know that name. I've never heard
Billy
that name
Crash
before.
Craddock.
Yes, I've heard of him. Link Ray. We can't get out of here without mentioning Link Ray. And then again, one of the coolest names is Groovy Joe Poovy.
Oh yeah.
How cool is that name?
Sending it.
And what is it? Smokey LaBeef?
Rudy Tootie Grazel.
Rudy Tootie Grazer. Here he is, right here. I'm looking on my phone. I think it's Smokey LaBeef. That right there
Everything
is
is like.
I mean, I want like that to be my stage name.
Yeah.
LaBeef be my last name.
Just like
Sleepy
like,
LaBeef.
boys and girls, like whether you're watching or listening, like just pull up like rockabilly legends and like you'll see one thing in common. They all look the same. Like all the guys look one way and all the girls look one
Yeah.
way.
Some may look a little more Western.
Yeah.
And then I say, if you're ever going to learn about a rockabilly guitar player that probably tells you everything you need to know about the genre, just go and listen to early Elvis stuff and Scotty Moore. Scotty Moore, without a doubt, he is rockabilly. His sound was the rockabilly sound.
Yeah.
Like everybody who learned how to play guitar and was in a rockabilly band, they listened to, what is it, train, you know, they listened to that
And
stuff.
even the vocal style, like the way you would sing it, it was,
With the, like the Buddy Holly hiccup thing. Yeah.
Buddy Holly's
Yeah.
a good
Yes.
bloke. Very specific to the style and genre of it, like the way the guitar was played, the way the bass was played, like everything was very curtailed toward, like
Yeah.
this is what rockabilly is,
Yeah.
and anything outside of that isn't.
Yeah. I think you and I have talked. I'm going to quiz you again. Do you remember who Buddy Holly's guitar player was?
No, I do not.
Waylon Jennings.
How about them apples?
They were,
And by the way, he had a pompadour for a time.
yes, they were best friends. At one point, do you know the whole story around the night the day the music died?
No.
Buddy Holly was sick. I guess somehow they had picked who
We had done this story.
was supposed to go on the plane. Waylon was supposed to be on the plane.
He didn't.
He said, "You go ahead and get on the plane because you need to get to where you're going quicker than I do. I'll take the car."
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, Yeah, I hope your car crashes. And then Waylon said, well, I hope your plane crashes. And his plane crashed. So, he had to live with that the rest of his life. But Waylon Jennings, I mean, you can even look at some of those 80s country stars. I mean, Johnny Cash being the main one, the first one that comes to mind. A lot of them, that's where the backbone of that hillbilly music, that's where they came from.
Mhm.
You know, all of the Grand Ole Opry people, you think about that bluegrass lean that say, what's the guitar player that was on the Hee Haw? He had a red, white, and blue guitar. Buck Owens was one of them, and that was a whole California sound. But then you had the other fella. And thank you, good people, your IPA, taking my memory. Clark. Clark was his last name.
Roy Clark.
Roy Clark. There we go.
Roy Clark.
I was like, I know I can see him in my head
And
clearly.
now we are on our way out with the last beer. We have a Crowd Control.
Crowd
So
Control.
Pro, baby. 8%er.
Yep.
Potent.
This is a double IPA
Gonna put us under.
out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Shout out to Hattiesburg, Southern Prohibition. They be doing some good
Yeah,
brewing.
So Pro be doing some great brewing, and they've changed the can again. I'm just realizing
They like a new artwork.
it's a lot less chaotic than the last one. Because there was a time, I don't know, I guess they get different people to do the
They
artwork.
do.
Because
The PBR thing.
because the Fire Ant last time from So Pro was some of the best artwork ever. That whole ant mound with the
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, and while we're talking about Crowd Control, So Pro, I do want to tell everyone www.manscaped.com.
Manscaped.
Porch Talk, all one word. That'll get you 20% off at checkout.
I tell you, it has changed my grooming habits. I used to dread having to do all my grooming stuff. No, don't with Manscaped. Plus, the other day, I was sitting, because I wear patchouli. I don't wear cologne. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, somebody, I forget where I was, like somebody here smells really good. I was like, man,
You.
it was like, oh, that's my, what is it called? The ball, whatever.
That's that ball. Yeah, the ball deodorant.
Oh my God.
I think they call it the Crop Reviver.
The crop reviver. There you go, man. I was like, damn, that smells good.
Mhm.
I thought it was somebody else in the room, but it was me the whole time.
Dude, I was.
So shout out to the crop. Reviver.
Guesses on a recent podcast. If I can talk, thank you, good people. But
And So Pro.
and So Pro. And we were talking about like Manscaped and like just like you said, it took grooming to like another level for me to where I wasn't dreading it anymore. It was like I don't mind the facial aspect of it. I don't mind the downstairs. It's like everything is easy. It's well done. It's easy to do. It's safe. Like ain't nothing worse than nicking a ball.
Oh, for real. I mean, their razor's second to none. I've never had any that do such a thorough job so quickly.
Mm-hmm. And so even the underwear.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm guilty of busting that thing out like 2 days in a row. I'm guilty.
Oh man, over the weekend. Shit, 3 days, bro.
Yeah.
We're at work on Friday. No, that's really, I'm kidding. But yeah, they are comfortable. Well, I mean, as long as you got the ball deodorant on, you good.
You truly are.
You ain't got.
You ain't worry about that dank.
No.
And hey, and look, springtime's coming, summertime's around the corner. What are you doing out there, people? It's like, take care of yourself, ladies. If you got a man in your life, he ain't manscaped up. Go to www.manscaped.com. 20% off and use promo code PorchTalk, all one word. And I'm telling you, it's you look forward to shaving instead of like crap.
Yes, I mean, look how handsome we are. Come on, let's show them.
Look at me. Look at the blue light from the computer.
Yeah, I mean, you in my head.
Look at that.
Manscaped right there.
He's man all the way escaped.
Yep, I'm scaped completely all the way to my toes.
What more do you want, people? So,
Really, not to my toes. I haven't manscaped my legs yet.
How did we do on Rockabilly as we walk this thing out?
I mean, I would have to ask the crowd.
Is there anything else that we failed to mention? Like my main point is like I believe it inspired new genres just as the blues inspires genres. But I am definitely like hungry. Like when I got through watching those documentaries, it made me want to pick up my guitar and like learn how to play that way. I was so inundated with it. I was like, oh man, this is the way. This is the future. You know.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this, and I don't want anybody who doesn't like country music to get turned off, but it is as much. It's as music as bluegrass is to country. It's as much to country. I mean, I think that out of every genre that led up to country music or led up to rock and roll, rockabilly probably gets forgotten or is the least thought about.
It doesn't sell records. Like these guys like
I have bought a rockabilly record, so. But I'm one person out of millions.
And that's what I was going to say. Is like these rockabilly bands, like the labels or like whoever would believe in them enough, they would only cut like 500, and they would be good to sell that many. I mean that is how tight it was in like the culture. It was subculture of subculture. It was like there was just a group of people that knew about it. I mean like
but when you think about it. The way things started out when Elvis became a thing and Johnny Cash became a thing and Carl Perkins was out there making music, it was the pop music of the time.
And they didn't even know what to call it then.
Yes, but then it kind of faded when all these other things popped up. When rock and roll became a thing and country music became its own separate thing. It broke away from rockabilly and country music, or rock and roll and country music kind of broke away from rockabilly, you know? But definitely check it out. I mean, really just go to rockabilly. If you're into the younger stuff, just check out early Elvis, early Johnny Cash. If you're into like newer sounding stuff, definitely look into the Reverend Horton Heat, look into the Hillbilly Hellcats, look into Hillbilly Casino. If you're into some subgenre shit, want to go some punkabilly route or Demented to Go, I cannot remember, as like drawing a blank for the other, but there's plenty of ways you can go.
Yeah, and I mean
Necromantics, that was the other band I was trying to think of.
And Spotify can really help you.
Yes, yes.
And whatever Amazon Music app, whatever app you use, I mean it'll point you in the right direction. But this was an episode that I've been looking forward to doing for some time to really spotlight rockabilly. Like you and I love talking about local. I mean we third honorary Sheridan Taylor Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
Love talking about the local scene. Shout out to the Heart of Rhodes. I'm such a huge fan of everything that we have going on in Alabama and Mississippi, but as like a genre that I just really got fired up about through like listening to these kind of style of bands, watching these documentaries. I mean, it will fire you up to want to go to a rockabilly show.
There you go. Link Ray. That's it. I'll leave it there. WRAY.
Well, dude, anything else to do before we walk around the show? Anything you want to plug?
Cheers. Nope. Indies Only is gone, but look forward to something else in the near future.
I like the way you're talking.
Yep. I'm working on some shit in my brain. In my sad, traumatic brain injury brain, I'm working on some stuff.
Oh, he's going to be in there cooking.
Yeah,
You
something.
just wait.
Something.
Just hold on, boys and girls.
Roll Tide.
End it on the road tide. Peace out.
Boy, you about to pop.
Whew. How do you close this bad boy out?
Man, that was a good episode, I think, man.